Is going live? I think just one.
I can see YouTube here.
So it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the second series of Mentor My Board, that is Boardroom Talks. Boardroom is a place where fortunes of great companies are written, and hence in the pursuit of bringing best practices of the boardrooms and best practices followed by eminent directors, independent directors, women directors, professionals like CEOs, CFOs, company secretaries, mentors of corporate India, and even international boardrooms to you. Here we are again with you through this boardroom talk series in front of you. In this first series, we did 50 plus interviews, which are part of our YouTube page of Mentor My Board. And participants had great learnings from these talks. Now, let me take the opportunity to introduce Mentor My Board to you first. Mentor My Board is a B2B2C governance tech platform wherein corporate directors come together to learn, to sharpen their boardroom skills, to network, and get opportunity of serving on the companies as directors, whether in all different capacities. And also get mentored by expert mentors on the areas of business, governance, finance, marketing, and strategy. We are on a mission to transform Indian corporate directors and boardrooms and create community of 1 lakh directors by 2027. Last 2 years, Mentor My Board has sailed through various milestones, conducted 2 independent directors summit, 2 women directors conclave, launched various innovative products, which includes Boom, Women on Management and Boards, Boardroom Mastery. And the biggest success came when Honorable Finance Minister of India graced second Women Directors Conclave in September at the venue of Bombay Stock Exchange. And 1,000 plus participants witnessed the conclave through the hybrid Boom. Honorable Madam launched Boom for us, and the first batch of Boom, Women on Management and Boards, started from 31st of October. Second batch is starting from 20th of December. Boardroom Mastery for Promoter Directors, Startup Directors is being held on 14th of January 2023. Now, kindly do like, share, subscribe to our Facebook pages, LinkedIn page, YouTube channel of Mentor My Board, and join our community of Circle of Directors. So today, I, CS Divya Momaya, founder of Mentor My Board, invite our esteemed moderator, CS Bharti Iyer, who is GRC professional and has 30 years of rich insurance industry experience. And currently, she is Senior VP Compliance, Star Health, and Allied Insurance, and also advisor to Mentor My Board. So today, let's get ready for the boardroom talk, this first boardroom talk of our second series with Mr. Srinivas Uppaluri. And I request Bharti to introduce him to all of us. So over to you, Bharti, and Srinivas, welcome to this boardroom talk. So over to both of you.
Thanks a lot, Diva. Forward, yeah.
Thank you so much, Divya. It's my pleasure to again inaugurate this series with none other than Srinivas Uppaluri. Srinivas has got such a varied profile. It obliges me to actually touch upon the various highlights. So he started off as a chartered accountant. At his first attempt, he cleared CA, which itself is a feat of no mean, aptitude. So he in 1987, and thereon he has helped in various capacities he has worked. But in this context, I want to introduce Srinivas with regard to his achievements in helping boards to reorganize and companies to re-engineer themselves in order to achieve their goals and set new goals and achieve it. So I'll go through those highlights of it. So Srini actually, as he likes to be called, helps organizations and institutions to realize their true business potential based upon their core values. He encourages and challenges the various organizations to disrupt their status quo, which is very good, and push them to set and unscale and unprecedented benchmarks. He works closely with them in addressing deep-rooted operational and strategic challenges. Srini himself says that he's a self-confessed idealist, and he believes that we can all change the world for good, setting high standards for ourselves and also achieving them. So that means for companies, so high ethical standards, high ESG standards. His business frameworks have helped various organizations scale up and go global while maintaining a grounded approach as to how they work. Over the last 3 decades, Srini has developed specific approaches that help business to stay aligned to their larger goals. Over the years, he has also had the privilege to have worked across industries, business situations, and challenges. Srini's approach in helping organization begins with establishing a vision, which actually needs a lot of re-engineering, following up through patience, leveraging his ability to conceptualize solutions and frameworks, and bring in new creative perspectives. His business frameworks have also helped organizations and individuals to unravel various opportunities and also to spot their own lacunae in their processes. These frameworks, which have been built over the years, have they actually distill his own experience and those of the industry leaders whom he has worked with and associated from time to time in various functions and industries. So his new book called Switch, Sales Transformation for Strategic Advantage, focuses on themes which are close to his approach towards building great enterprises. So I will, want to hear from Srini himself about his various experiences. So Srini, before we actually get into the question answer mode, can I just ask you to briefly encapsulate some highlights? You need not name names of organizations, but some highlights which have helped to position you where you are and which have instilled this idealistic approach in you, which is very rare in a business guy.
Thanks, Bharti. It's been a life of, I would put it slightly differently, that I've been blessed. I've been thrown into so many opportunities across my professional and personal career. Had an opportunity to work with so many varieties of companies and leaders. So I think it's been a blessing. I'll just start saying that's a huge blessing to have been having all that experience. It's been a life of reinventing myself. Like you said, I've started as a chartered accountant. That's what I'm an accountant by training, but I spent most of my early career being a professional management consulting. And therefore, I think I worked on a wide variety of things. Let's say, for example, restructuring the public sectors in the late 80s, 90s, to helping some of the big MNCs to come into India saying what should be the India entry strategies. And I think then the technology started taking off in here and rest of the world. So worked very closely with technology on operational expenses. I then started migrating into building marketing mindset. And that's how I got, I think, attracted to, was invited to work with Infosys to build their brand for about 7 to 8 years. So now in the last 8-10 years, I've been working on new things like, being sounding board to businesses, mentoring small to large businesses as well, building leadership capabilities across people. So it's been a life of reinventing. But throughout, I think what stood by me is every challenge, every issue, I was 200% into it. I love the problems I work on. I just get engrossed into it. I think if I can find fault with me, is being 200% into any something which is so intense and a lot of rigor I bring into it. So, but my role is also been to sit back and say, where can we go? That's where I challenge a lot of people. So every company, every place I work, they're all lost in their transactions, lost in their day-to-day operations. My role is to make them sit back and say, hey, are we on the right direction? Either as a company or as a leader or as an overall direction, are we doing the right things? Should we work on this? That's my role has always been. So are our goals good or can it be better? So I think always keep pushing the boundaries. That's where I call myself idealistic, because I feel the potential is very high. And I think then we'll help them to get there. So this has been it's been a great journey and it keeps going. Thanks.
Yes, Srinivas. Actually, the way you segued from that, what I asked you, how as a number cruncher, if you put a very mundane view on what an accountant does, how did you manage to position yourself to be a re-engineering of a business? So you have segued into my question. How are you helping businesses with your experience as a mentor? So one, you said that you are helping them to push the boundaries. You envision new possibilities, which because they are very much involved in the actual business of what they are doing, they're too close, like they can't see the wood for the trees. So
Yeah.
if you would like to get into more specifics, because our viewers are from across a range of businesses, so they are directors, they are also professionals like yourself, chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost accountants, lawyers, and they are in from the mid-range MSMEs. So basically, we are also into mentoring, as you know. So how do you, actually helping businesses with your experience as a mentor? I mean, more in specifics.
Yeah. So I think let's take the business as a first example, and let's take examples of maybe a medium-sized company to a large company to make. I think we'll just take an examples of how do I get involved in this. So let's take an example of a small to medium-sized company which was in IT services. Let's take an example. And they probably were one of the best in their segment. They probably were one of the best in their segment, yet market was not recognizing them as best in their segment. They were spending a lot of money on marketing. They were spending a lot of money to be everywhere, yet they were not getting the right results. If when you go into all these things, because there's a huge team working across on marketing, on strategy, on go-to markets, there's a lot of senior team also there, but all of them were working. They were all lost into this sale has to be done, this next marketing event has to be done, the like next website has to go live, and there's a lot of activities happening and enough spend is happening, but they were very, very, very good at their own area, but they were not able to extract it. So one of the first things when I go is to sit back and look at all this activity happening and say, step back, where do we want to go? Why do you want to do all these things, what you're doing? So started looking at, is there a plan? Is there a structure? Is there a way of doing this thing? So started guiding them to look at a big picture of what we want to deliver through this. We want to deliver to be recognized in the market as number one. And we want to be recognized, we want to be referred by influencers to different people. So are we positioning our learnings and lessons learned from work to the market? Can we make the market look up? So far, they were only selling on credentials. So what I start doing is start making them look at from a big picture. Where do we want to be 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and reorganize everything they are doing to the extent possible, repurpose what they are doing currently, but also look at the larger things. So I started pulling them back to look at it bigger way. Over the period, they started doing better influencer manner, better messaging, better extraction of the things. They started getting rated by the influencers as the number one. The moment that happens, the market recognition changes. It is the same team, it is the same efforts, but you have to help them to start organizing this much better than doing scattered set of transactions. This is a small to medium company. In my parlance, I would say it was $50 to $150 million range company. So in a reasonably small, in the context of IT services. So when I just walked in, I helped them. In the process, we also built their longer term business strategy and aligned distance, and everything we are doing is in the longer term business strategy. So I think
But sorry to interrupt you, because I really like that purpose, what you said, no, repurpose. So it's a very important thing, because in any business or even in our personal lives, if we don't know why we are doing what we are doing, then we lose the entire the plot. We have lost the plot. So when you are talking about repurposing, and we are talking about directors on the board who may be independent directors, because they come with this three-dimensional and outlooking in perspective. So how do you feel that the skills of a director, what are the more important skills for a leader with regard to a director who's an executive director, an independent director who is outlooking in, and of course yourself as a mentor? In all these three roles, would you like to say about why we are doing what we are doing, if you can say about that in the context of repurposing?
So I think what happens is when you're coming from outside in, you're bringing in, like whether I'm coming in from a company or I'm coming, whatever role I'm playing, I'm bringing in an outside in perspective. But I have to also understand the inside out view first. I can come like a storm anywhere and then say everything is wrong and change. But how do I then help them? So what are the first things I try to do from an outside in perspective? There are many things. What is the readiness of this organization to take any inputs? What is the readiness of the team? What is the readiness of their systems? What is the readiness of the institutional readiness to do these things? Is first thing you need to understand. And what is the phasing you have to do? So it is at a company level, at also individual level. The second challenge that comes in is how there is already a lot of investments going on at the moment. So you don't want to disrupt that. How can you do things better? So my first thing when I walk into any place is the first few months, whenever I'm working with anybody, my involvement may be only a few days a month or one day a month in some one time. But what I'm trying to do, can they do something they are doing better than what they are doing today by bringing in some outside in perspective? Okay, so there are better practices elsewhere. Can I organize you better? And therefore, can you get better value of what you're doing? That's the first step. The second step is today, somewhere in this, we'll start working on medium-term goals, because a lot of people actually work in many things without this direction. It's month after month, quarter, especially smaller companies, work month after month, quarter after, they're surviving. And they don't think about where do I want to be from 6 months from now, 12 months from now. So one of the other things I try to help them is to start organizing, saying there is a sense of direction to this whole thing. And therefore, what the phase steps you go. In the process, we can get their abilities also scaled up so that they can actually implement and change those changes, maybe bring in those changes, because not every SME, not every small company is blessed with all the talent they want. So they have to again with the same talent. So how do raise the levels of the talent to really deliver on the new ways of doing things? So that's also something one needs to mind. So even if you come as a director, even if you come as a mentor, I think one of the things is what is the readiness and how do you help them to get there?
Okay, but when you're engaged as a mentor, all right. So can we not safely assume that the business is ready to have it, repurposed or re-engineered, or maybe look at their vision statement and the ways to get to the vision? Because are they not ready? Otherwise, they would not invite people to look into, my backyard, so to speak. So can I not assume that?
I think even if I take very mature companies, let me give a completely different example. This story is covered in a fictional form in my Switch book also. A very, very, very large company, probably one of the largest in the world, in Indian operations, was going after 100 potential customers and having only 2 customers saying, yes, possibly you are somebody I want to talk to. So they were actually, even big companies tend to put a lot of effort without plans.
Okay.
There is even if you have a right vision, many companies don't have the strategy in place. Many companies have strategy in place, but the strategy is not, nobody checks whether the strategy is happening, but they get driven by operational. So there is, see, the leadership driving from big picture doesn't happen. So one of the first things I train leaders at whatever level, organizations, their management, to look at business from a big picture. So my role is to pull them back saying, are you driving from big picture? What is your big picture? How does this big picture translate into the actions you're doing? What is for this quarter you release versus next quarter you release? So how do you drive from the big picture? I'm not questioning the strategy itself, but are you keeping in track with your strategy? And I think many companies in the transactional world lose the sense of the strategy. So I was giving an example of 100 to 2. When we could reorganize them, they could go 40 to 10. So the same efforts give better results. They're meeting 100 companies, 2 were talking. When they help them to meet 40, this is a very, very big company. So now imagine a lot of smaller companies with lesser experienced people. One of the first things I find is there is no market strategy. There is a market, but they don't know whom to go after. So this is where some frameworks, approaches help. They have a vision, but that is not completely put into a plan. They need a lot of organization around plan. They have a plan, but they don't drive from the plan. They react to whatever is pushing them in the
exactly.
And I think that is what you need to really pull them back. And I think that's where the role of governance is also all about. Is also looking, saying, are we on the right direction? Are we on the right track? We might have achieved numbers. We might not have achieved numbers. Is there a track for this? I think that's where the role of a mentor is very much.
Very important. I totally agree with you, and I'm glad the way you're putting it. People can understand that this is also true of what we call large corporates today. You know that
Absolutely.
they are also not having such strategic viewpoints, and they are also not repositioning themselves, keeping relevant to the situation, so to speak. Now, when I just come back to that conflict interest, now there are two aspects which I wanted to dwell upon, because you have had experience with family businesses as well as non-family run businesses, but where the investor has invested his money and he wants somebody to not keep a hand on the steering wheel, but at least sit in the passenger seat of the executive director so they don't totally veer off track or go on a detour with his money, the investor's money. So, how do you manage such conflict situations? One, as a mentor; two, as an independent director, for example.
So I think first, whatever is the role, one conflict happens when they expect when people don't respect each other's agendas. So whenever there is a bunch of people working on, whether it's an investor, whether it is a promoter, whether it is a full-time director, all of them in a particular situation have different purposes. That means they have different expectations from the same business. So I, as a promoter, may be dreaming of delivering something,
Correct.
and it has its own, it's got its own priorities. I, as an investor, may be looking at earlier exit or earlier return. Somebody else who is very passionate product engineer, or somebody who's part of the founding team, who is looking more at a product excellence. Now, even in large organizations, these expectations of different people could be different dreams of their own company, or priorities will be different. It is first thing is to, I think a lot of times conflict happens, we don't respect others' expectations. So I think when we say, like, when a particular board is being run or a particular management team is being run, we need to recognize that there are different expectations and there are a weightages to each expectation.
Totally.
And I think that maturity, if we can build into the collective team, that there
Yeah.
are.
So yeah, Srinivas, again, like we are talking very good sense, but if you can, sort of break it down into specifics, how do you go about it?
So that's what I'm saying.
There
The
is a
first step,
conflict situation.
first
It's
step
a
is the
family-owned
conflict
business.
happens. The
Yeah.
conflict happens because people are on their corners and did not recognize others people. I think first thing is to probably document the expectations.
All
Say
right. All right.
different people, there are different stakeholders, and different stakeholders have to be balanced. And these have to be documented. I'm saying documented means listed, saying recognized, put it, saying this is the animal in the room, saying this is my dream, this is your dream. What are the trade-offs?
Exactly.
What are the trade-offs? What does it mean? I think there's never an open conversation like that. And I think if they have an open, I think my way of managing this is to, like, list out these conversations
All
and
right.
say, and saying what are the expectations of each people, what is the trade-off, what if trade-offs are there. It is not just at the board level. Even if you, like in my book on Switch, I've done a chapter called calibrating communications. A lot of times sales don't happen because you know that there are multiple stakeholders when you buy, and you don't map all the stakeholders, and therefore you start selling to one stakeholder, other stakeholder will reject.
Absolutely.
So I think for healthy thing, when there are multiple stakeholders with different things, I think mapping that expectations, recognizing the expectation, and putting it into a open discussion, saying what are the trade-offs between my expectation and your expectation? What is the via media we can work on? How do we prioritize? I think an open discussion and healthy discussion and respect for each other's expectation is what a mentor or even an external director can facilitate.
Yeah. Very
And
true.
that's
Very
the
true.
most important thing. And it's a skill, it's an experience, and you have to have credibility to do that. So I think it's a
Totally.
balance of all these things, and it's a continuous process. It's not a one-time process. This is also
True.
part of strategy. So strategy, independent of these expectations, is also of no use. So I
Because
think
first of all, you have to have the faith. And the thing, like you said, first of all, the credibility matters a lot, not only of the mentor, but also of the director who's being invited onto a board.
correct.
So, in the context of that, how do you feel Mentor My Board can position itself, for for this aspect of what you were dwelling upon,
I
the
think
credibility building?
my experience with Mentor My Board, I think all these, some of these, I think it is one is doing a great job of training, bringing in, like different kind of mentors, advisors to probably groom. What it will be nice, and I think would be good to do, is to walk people through situations, not just simulated situations, but real life experiences being shared so that people can live in those experiences and say, what if you are there? Because there are also lessons learned. There is no right answer. In business, there are always several choices. Each choice has a trade-off. So
Correct.
Mentor My Board can play a large role in actually helping people live some of the situations even before they actually face them, become a repository of lessons learned, and so that
Fantastic.
people can use them. The other area, Mentor and Board, I feel, and I personally am a great champion of this, when governance is today is limited only to the previous financial results, right?
Correct.
But
Correct.
and I've written a couple of articles also on this and all those things. There are two aspects to it I would want to bring in. One is things like customer satisfaction. You're there in the market only for a purpose of a customer, even a company, whatever company is addressing some market need. If the market need, how well your market need is, how satisfied they are, how effective you are, what is the feedback, it is not a part of disclosure anywhere. That is one aspect of it. The second part of the disclosure is whatever you get measured. If I'm an employee, and I'll give a story. If I'm an employee in one of my consulting companies, if I was not met my financial results, I probably won't pass the reception. I'll be asked to go home from there itself if I'm at
True.
not financial result. But if I had 15 customers on a scale of 1 to 5, if 14 of them gave me 4 and one gave me 3, I'm out of bonus for that year. Out of growth. So that means customer satisfaction was highly measured. In some
Yes.
other organizations I work, they even currently a lot of organizations, 85% weightage is given to only financial results, and everything else is in the 15%. Now,
I
you
see.
could also feel employee scorecards and what are they getting measured is a part of the governance.
Very
Because
true.
only what gets measured is what gets done. If you're saying I'm going to do a lot of customer satisfaction, better things in the market, and if your employee scorecard says only 2% of that is and the weightage in the whole scorecard, will never get done. So this is one aspect. I think they can play a lot of role in influencing policy or what
Wonderful.
needs to be disclosed. I think they can play a lot of role, and I think that's one thing area they can really work on. The second thing is not just the past. How ready is the organization? Governance is not just about the past. So wherever I work with a lot of CFOs, CEOs, CXOs, I'm trying to understand where do they spend time. Are they spending time mostly on the current quarter, current year results? So that means they're 80% of time, that means they're going hand to mouth. Are they spending on growth engines? What are the growth engines? Is the adequate spend happening? Adequate time being spent by the management so that you are future ready? So if there are not enough growth engines, so governance, I think for a lot of smaller companies, is also to understand that enough money, enough time, and enough investments are happening for the growth engines. And I think that is also something we need to really talk about. And again, Mentor by Board can start highlighting some of these things as a need. Change the way the reviews, governance, just not past analysis, but it's also to ensure that the future is right engines, right investments are happening in adequate time. So I would classically do an SG&A analysis, the sales and administrative expenses analysis, and say what percentage is for earning this current revenue, what percentage is for earning future revenue, which quarter can I start seeing results? And I think, so am I making enough investments? I think that is also another role for all the governance, all the role of the board also, all the role of leaders to ensure that the company is future relevant.
Very true. Very
and
true.
I think this is where Mentor by Board can play a huge role in influencing this change.
It's actually a very fantastic vision which you have given to Mentor My Board itself. You know, in the near term, as in the next 1 year. So you were talking about investment in businesses. So I just wanted to think, how do you think that India became the best investment destination in the world. And let's not talk about COVID and non-COVID, but generally. Now we are very close.
I'm not sure. I'm thinking the question has become, how can it become, is probably a better answer. I think I won't get into the classical government reforms or government policies or all those things. I'm not getting into that, but I think India, to become a best in destination, has to start thinking from being world class. Can every company think that whatever I do is best practices in the world? Can I be world class? If I'm a bank, I'm a world class bank. If I'm a CA firm, I'm a world class CA firm. That means, can the CA firm be requested for services by Germany, by France, by US, like the bigger ones? Can they think in the dream in that way? If they start dreaming, then the standards of what we deliver already start rising. That will make that people around the world want to partner with us. One of the things I feel India is doing, we have done very well in IT, we have done very well in a lot of service industries. But according to me, we are very people driven. We are not institutional driven. So we have to build institutions. That means there's no knowledge management in India. There is no R&D investments in India. So if I've done 1,000 banks in an IT industry, and I challenge a lot of people, can the 1,001st bank benefit from the 1,000 banks I've already done? No, it is actually the person who's going there makes a difference. So can they start building great institutions? So therefore, I would tell entrepreneurs also, who are today probably focused on what comes to my family from, or to me from this business, versus can they start thinking, can this business last 200 years? When they start thinking in this life, I think the people across the world would want to partner and work with us. Therefore, I'm taking away all that, assuming reforms are right, assuming the regulatory environment is right, all those things are right, market is always there. But can we be the best in class? So therefore, it's natural for people to be. I think this is a time we start redreaming India to be best in class, to be world class in every aspect we do. So every firm is something looked up to. Every company is something looked up to. And I think that's a dream I live. That's when I say idealist, that's what I am. That's what I try to really work on. And I think that's what will attract everybody to be partners with India.
Correct. And at a granular level, if we do it with, because we were just taking some statistics, and about more than 80% to almost 90% are driven by SMEs and MSMEs, industry. So if we do it at a granular level, like you said, start with another. And I'm sure that we will become the best in class, and we will attract the best investment opportunities.
And here again, Mentor on Board, I think, can start having this dream, saying, can I push the limits? Can I ask each SME to start looking it very differently? And I think that's the dream, that's the aspirations, that's the quality of leadership we can influence.
Correct. It's actually a thing. Would you like to also, without giving the name of the company, would you like to give any turnaround stories example with more context of small and medium in India?
Okay. I'm just giving just think about which ones to really talk about. Turnaround stories, small companies, small and medium companies. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be nice. Others also.
No, there are several stories, but I'm just taking a recent example of working with a small bunch of IT professionals who are looking into certain space of addressing a segment of market which is in retail and that space. One of the challenges they all faced was they were unstructured. So they were growing unstructured. There's no predictability in how they turn. So like the revenues, everything is up and down.
Correct.
So once they started planning, once they started working with more focused market, once they started working with a focused market, saying this is instead of going after 1,000 companies, I'll go after these 20 companies in a very structured way. They started having better results. And they started having, so that's one aspect of it. Also stepping back and saying, what do I want to achieve the next quarter? That also helped. So I think, I don't know, but I'm on top of the mind, not recalling all the details, but I think there are several stories where I think then you pull back and start working towards. There is several stories like that. Many instances where we dramatically have pushed the new levels better. So I think there are several stories like that. To be honest, offhand, I'm just not coming up with something right now.
No, that's fine. Like you also mentioned that, in your past career, other than being an accountant, you were also into brand building, corporate image restructuring. So, in this thing of how to be the best in class, like, envision yourself as best in class, how do you feel that brand imaging and, positioning or restructuring your brand, how much does it play a portion in the initial stages of your re-engineering?
I think it plays a huge role. I'm just recently I was talking at one of the hospitals I'm working.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, in the area they went, their awareness was only 10%. That only 10% of the people, when I do a random survey, they said they know this hospital. So the problem was that therefore they had to put a lot of effort to get every month's sale. The moment you do branding and increasing the awareness, that awareness shifted from 10% to 30%, automatically more people are automatically coming. So one of the simplest things one can do is increase awareness. The other simple thing one can do is to try and improve change the perception. So if you certain things you are working on and not everybody is aware, so you have to work toward. Perception is a longer term, but a shorter term, awareness is something you can really work. It starts yielding results. We can talk about this more in detail, but yeah. The most important investment is to work towards awareness in this.
Yeah, totally. So, I think Divya is, here. She wanted to ask a few questions, I guess, or she might want to, because you had some wonderful ideas for Mentor My Board. So I'll let Divya, talk to you now.
Yeah, so thank you, Bharti, and thank you, Srinivas, sir. This is indeed wonderful interactions, listening to both of you. And so very important, aspects what you covered. And in fact, I have been talking to you now 2-3 times when we spoke. And the one idea, what, I really liked about, overall, how you have been looking at the businesses and how you have been mentoring and guiding businesses is, building a bigger vision. I think that is something I always keep telling everyone that, today we in India, as Bharti also mentioned, so many businesses, majority, 90-95% businesses are from the SMEs and mid-sized sector. If you see the listed companies where actually the governance is spoken, is hardly 7,000-8,000, whereas MSME data and MSME statistics by the MSME ministry is more than 7 crore businesses are registered. So the range is huge difference. And that is where, talking of creating bigger vision, creating sustainable corporates and creating the companies which have the, which takes India to the next level in the, on the roadmap of the world is something, that small sector is, definitely contributing to that part. So these are very valuable inputs. And, when you have given the roadmap, for us to work on, definitely we would be, looking and making those things possible for the corporates, for the promoter directors very specifically, because being directors, your business well, but when it comes to governance, when it comes to strategizing at a board level, people usually miss out on that part. And that is where we have been helping them to create their boardrooms, to create and to strategize their boardrooms. So how the performance-driven board meetings have to be run, so on and so forth. So I think very valuable inputs from your side, a great piece of interaction amongst both of you. It was really insightful to, listen to those wonderful conversations. And we have been definitely interacting much further and would be, happy to have a lot of your valuable mentoring sessions available for the, members, participants on the platform of Mentor My Board, where you have created your one-on-one mentoring sessions also. So I think that is something very useful for all the, participants of Mentor My Board, and also people who are joining in to us and who are, watching this live YouTube talk, and keep, guiding us, keep mentoring us, as a startup also. At the same time, I think the case study concept, what you mentioned, is really, really going to, help businesses to really enter into those situations, and then, then you learn better and faster. So I think that is something what is, very unique. We would be surely working on it also together. So with this, I think we come to an end for today's live show. So thank you very much to Srinivas sir and to Bharti for always being available to us whenever we request you. So thank you so much for being here with us on Mentor My Board. And this is a series of Boardroom Talk, which is live today. And it will be every Friday, 6:30. We will be coming to all of you with different mentors from industry who have seen boardrooms, who have worked with boardrooms, who have been contributing to the boardrooms in different ways, to bring the best practices. As Srinivas sir also mentioned, the best practices when we share together, that helps us to be better. And that helps us to be, kind of broaden our vision also. So stay tuned, and don't forget to go to Mentor My Board, join the community of Circle of Directors, follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We are on all these, and even Twitter, Instagram. So don't miss out on following us on all these social media handles. At the same time, on the platform of Mentor My Board, there are a lot of courses. There are a lot of sessions by the mentors. So get in and enrich yourself with board learning. So thank you very much, and stay tuned. Look forward to see you all next week, same time. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.